say it again, if only to reinforce the point with new information. This isn't going to go away. Morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. Comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. A rare convergence of the Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates last night at PPG Paints Arena. Pat McAfee of ESPN, local dude from Plumboro, had an event that, I'll be honest with you, I had no idea what it was supposed to be. But it was basically the equivalent of a talk show playing out on a stage in an arena. Sold out almost instantly, 13,000 people there. And he invited, among others, Ben Roethlisberger, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, and Paul Skeens. And Skeens gets up on the stage, gets a big roar from the crowd. Really cool. Really cool for somebody who's new to us, both as a ball player and as a person. Wonderful to have that moment. It's different than cheering him going onto the mound when he's all, super intense and getting ready to strike people out. This is a lot less formal, to say the least. And you could tell he appreciated it. And then McAfee and Skeens are standing in front of this long, extended stage they had, and everything kind of goes silent for a moment, which, if McAfee was hoping to avoid an uncomfortable situation, was a mistake on his part, because that crowd broke into the loudest, longest, most animated "Sell the Team" chant yet, including even what was heard at the home opener last Friday. And it took McAfee, you could tell, like about an extra second and a half to figure out what was going on, at which point he said a bad word and then went, "Oh no," because he realized that they're doing this with Skeens standing to his left, and he wasn't about to do anything to make his guest feel cringy. So you look at Skeens' face, and you can see he's got a little bit of a cringy grin on him, I guess is the best way that you can describe it. He's not the pot stirrer. He's not that at all. So McAfee smartly and quickly just changed the subject, just said something to the effect of, "Okay, pivot, palate cleanser here." And then they went about talking about Skeens and about winning a World Series someday. Skeens had some outstanding things to say, I thought, about the city and about how we've embraced him and everything. But I digress. That's not going away. That chant not going away. Give credit or blame, depending on your point of view, to those protesters that went through downtown this past winter. They did this. And if you were one of the people poking fun at them for doing so, take the L, okay? Because this was them. They were the ones that got the concept going. They were the ones who got the initial media attention. They were the ones who bought the billboards. They were the ones who rented the plane. They were the ones who were outside on Federal Street on the day of the home opener, telling people specifically that whenever you hear the organ do the familiar "Let's Go Bucks" jingle, replace it with "Sell the Team." That's what happened. That wasn't a coincidence. That wasn't an accident. That was them. They did that. And to whatever extent they were the spark, the Pirates, of course, have been the fuel. Meaning with that weird survey that was released right around the time the team was signing no free agents. Meaning with the Clemente ad flap, which I felt and still feel was terribly overblown. Nonetheless, perception is perception, and it has an impact. But this, the thing with the bricks, there's nowhere to go with this. There's no escape from this. There's no allowing it to fade away. There's no wall that they can create somewhere that's going to replace it. This isn't one of those, like the Clemente thing, where they're unfairly put into a position to defend themselves. They blew it in every single facet of it. They didn't communicate their intentions. When they were asked about it, they were told that the bricks were in storage somewhere. Next thing you see are images that were sent from dumps. One of them most prominently up in Reserve Township, of these bricks just sitting there in dumpsters, crumbled up, which means they also didn't think about where the bricks might go and who might see them, locally. Like dudes working cranes at these kinds of yards 4 miles away just might be baseball fans. They just might have figured out what these things are and just might want to call a local TV station, which is what happened, and tell them all about it. The stories that I've heard, and mine by comparison is nothing. My wife and I bought a brick back when the stadium was built because we lived a block and a half away, an apartment complex, and we really enjoyed watching the thing go up right out of the ground, really right out of the river. So we wanted something to commemorate that. We wanted to have a brick there so our kids could see it and everything else here. Mine is nothing compared to what I have heard from you, what I have heard from friends, the stories about loved ones who've been lost, of the many, many traditions that people had in going and finding their brick and touching it on the way in or the way out. And these people just arbitrarily decided, nah, that's not important. And actually, we don't need to consult them on this. We're just going to go right ahead and do it. Oh, and by the way, if any of them call and ask why there's nothing but a slab of white suburban CVS-looking cement out there instead of their bricks, just tell them they're in storage and we'll figure it out eventually. That, my friends, isn't one that you shrug off. That isn't one where you're hoping that the team goes on a little bit of a winning streak this weekend in Cincinnati and everyone will forget about it. That needs to be fixed. The baseball team needs to be fixed too, and I'll eventually get back to talking about that as well. But this needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed all the way. Cost be damned for once. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q, well, before I get to that, I always open this program if the Pirates played a game the previous day with the score. The Pirates did play a game. They outlasted the Cardinals. I guess that's the best verb for it, 2-1 in 13 innings. It took them 13 innings to get 2 runs while they're batting 198 as a team. Full credit to Mitch Keller and the rest of the pen who got the job done pretty much by themselves. That's 2 out of 3 from St. Louis. And again, right now, I'm not there. I'm not there at all. Tim Doyle asks, DK, I've read from your reporting that Bob Nutting wants to keep the team to pass it on to his children. As a parent, I would be reluctant to burden my kids with an asset that comes with so much baggage. I don't see the financial situation changing much, and to put my kids in the same boat doesn't seem to be fair to them. By the way, your daily shots are a go-to. My morning routine, even at age 70, I'll still start my day with you in the office. That's really nice, Tim. I appreciate that. As I was stressing at the time that our special report at DK Pittsburgh Sports came out about the finances, which was a final figure that was confirmed both by the team and by a really prominent outside entity that's not in a position to lie about this sort of thing, that they lost $2.2 million in 2024. That's not expected to be the norm. That's not seen internally or externally as some sort of massive burden of debt. It was just the figure for that year combined with other debt that had accumulated. And this was really common, by the way, around baseball, around the COVID time. They're working their way out of that, Tim. They're expecting to be out of that. So I wouldn't take that information that was in our special report and say that that would be something that would influence Nutting's ownership decisions in one direction or another for the foreseeable future. Now, as I answer that, I realize that you could have been asking me this a couple of different ways. You could have been asking about financial burden, which is what I presumed, or you could have been asking about just, a pain in the rear end burden of owning this team under these circumstances with that particular surname. Now, for all I know, the Nutting next of kin could be hailed as conquering heroes, or they could be greeted with the same cynicism as the old man. I don't know. I have no way of knowing that. But if I had to, take a wager on it, and I don't even do that sort of thing, I'd expect that it would be pretty much the same. When Bob took over for his father, Ogden, there really wasn't much difference in the sentiment. So that's the only precedent that we have. I'm going to keep saying this, and I know nobody wants to hear this, but you got to say what you know that's being told to you right from the individual himself. Bob's not selling. He's not selling. He has no intention of selling. He has not lifted so much as a figurative pinky finger towards selling. Most of his behind-the-scenes work as it relates to this franchise's future is somewhere between ensuring its health and pushing for a salary cap, which, yes, he actually does, like a lot. If you've been with me for a while, you can repeat the following explanation right along with me. A salary cap system comes with a ceiling, a floor, and expanded revenue sharing to ensure that everyone can pay into that tight range, which is usually $20 million or so between the ceiling and the floor. Everybody gets into it. Everybody can afford it. Don't accept any alternative substitutes in explaining this thing. This is the only one that exists in the NFL and the NHL. Major League Baseball likes to think of itself as special, but it isn't special, and it would use something virtually identical. They all do. He wants this. He wants the team to be financially viable. And I guess if you were making a list of his priorities, somewhere on there would be that the team would win. But he's not selling, not based on anything I've ever heard. Now, I suppose he could wake up one day and change his mind and everyone would be, you told us he was never selling. I mean, I can't control that. But you can't get it from a higher source than the man himself. He's not selling. I appreciate the question, Tim. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. The team is off today, heading out to Cincinnati to face the Reds for 3. We'll have another one of these programs tomorrow, which might or might not be about actual baseball.